Okay. Is there anyone who filled out a card whose name I did not call? That's all I have then. I want to thank you all very much for coming out and, oh, yes. Are you Will Kitchen? Yes. He did reserve his card. He filled out a card.
I let everybody else go in front of me. I'm not from around here. I'm from on the edge, live on the edge of the Southern Adirondacks, which is a beautiful area called home. And I've just gotten to know this area recently through my activity with Crestwood. And you folks that are lucky to be able to call this area home. I've gotten to really love this area. But I'm here tonight to sort of talk about what the Pope calls our common home. And I think, you know, I used to be on a school board. I was president of the school board for 6 years. I understand taxes, I understand jobs. I come from a long line of construction workers in my family. But it seems to me we really need to focus on this large issue that has become a challenge for our generation. I think the governor out west said our generation was the first one that was able to deal with this, and it's also going to be the last one to be able to really have an impact on climate change. And if you're as old as I am, a lot of you are, you can remember when maybe you got 2 or 3 channels on your TV and you used to have to get off the couch to change the channel. But we've had television, we've had newspapers, we've had reporters around the world now for decades giving us information. And I think what we can easily lose sight of is that what we're now seeing, you know, several times a week on the news about these terrible climate events. These haven't always happened. You haven't got to think back too far to know that you weren't seeing this all the time. The Philippines a couple weeks ago had 51 inches of rain in 24 hours. If you look and convert that to snow, 51 inches of rain, you know, it's a lot of rain, but it's like this. That's equal to 55 feet of snow in 24 hours. The climate refugees that we're seeing pour across Europe now, they're fleeing from ISIS and they're fleeing from Assad and they're fleeing from the terror there. But for hundreds of thousands of those people, their migration actually started back before 2010 when eastern Syria went through a historic drought along the lines of what California has been going through recently. But naturally, you can imagine that country, as poor as it is, doesn't have the irrigation and the piping to bring water to those people. And those are rural farmers. They simply could not exist where they were. They moved to the cities. That increased the tension. And that's where a lot of those people's migration actually started. The New York's official position on gas, on fracking, the governor's position, is that we don't want it, and we don't want it because it's bad for health and it's bad for the environment. And if that's the case here, that's the case everywhere. So I just think that the governor's name is going to be all over this gas-fired power plant, the Constitution pipeline, any LNG facilities, the Crestwood storage facility. In my view, did one of the best things any political leader has done in a long time when he banned fracking a year ago. And he's positioned himself to be a real leader on these climate issues. What we need is a climate leader, a political leader of a state or a country to really speak strongly about renewables that everybody's mentioned, but to push it like we pushed getting a man on the moon, like we pushed defeating Hitler. We need somebody to rally the troops and say we can do this. I'm not smart enough to invent this technology, but I'm smart enough to read and comprehend and know that it's available. And the storage facilities are becoming available to store the energy we get during the day in the sun to use at night. Okay. And somebody asked if this was connected to Crestwood. And I think that if you follow, they're going to be able to follow a pipeline back, and eventually it'll go to Crestwood. It may not be direct. But one thing that you should know about Crestwood is North Dakota is a drill-heavy state. They have a multitude of oil and gas companies that have been operating there. In the last 10 years, they've had 10,000 reported spills. Those are just the reported spills. Of those 10,000 reported spills, there's only one company that has had 3 of the 20 largest, and that's Crestwood. And they leaked toxic water into a drinking water facility, then the lake is a drinking water source for the Indian reservation out there, just like Seneca Lake is a drinking water